The first time I realized something was wrong, I was halfway across the world, staring at the red dust of a foreign desert. My phone buzzed with a single email that froze me in place. Notice of sale, your property has been sold. My stomach dropped. My house, my life, gone. While I was serving, the HOA had sold my home without my consent. My fingers trembled as I reread the words, hoping it was a mistake, a cruel prank. But the confirmation documents said otherwise. I had joined the military to protect people, to serve something bigger than myself. I never imagined I'd come home to this, a betrayal stitched into every brass doorknob, every carefully trimmed hedge I'd spent years nurturing. The thought of the neighborhood I loved slipping from my grasp ignited a fire I hadn't felt since boot camp. It started with phone calls, endless calls to the HOA office, each one met with polite but impenetrable walls. We followed protocol, they said, as if a paper signed by greedy administrators could override the law or my service. The emails were worse, nonchalant, dismissive, full of jargon that sounded suspiciously like loopholes. My neighbors? Some sympathetic, most indifferent, as if the betrayal of one service member was trivial compared to the buzz of lawns and BBQs. Late one night, staring at the dark horizon of my deployed base, I had an idea. If they wanted to play games, I had the resources, the discipline, and a network they couldn't even begin to comprehend. I reached out to my commanding officer, recounting the story in precise, measured detail. His face went pale over the secure video call. "This isn't just fraud," he said. "This could impact national security. Your subdivision, it's being considered for federal acquisition. We may be able to reclaim it, but you'll need to be patient and meticulous." Weeks later, I returned home to find the street buzzing with uniformed personnel. Military vehicles lined up along the curbs. My neighbors watched in stunned silence, as banners of authority replaced the HOA's familiar signs. The entire subdivision had been taken over by the military, a maneuver so bold it left the administrators scrambling. The very same people who sold my home were now facing inspection, audits, and questioning at every turn. Walking through my old front door, now under federal jurisdiction, I felt a strange mix of relief and vindication. Yet, a storm was brewing behind the polite salutes and official paperwork. There was a deeper story here, one of greed, betrayal, and power, and I wasn't done uncovering it. The morning air smelled of fresh paint and authority as I walked through the streets that had once belonged to a private HOA. Barricades were gone, replaced by military tents and offices. Every lawn, every mailbox now bore the mark of federal oversight. I spotted the HOA president, Mr. Callahan, pacing nervously near what used to be our community clubhouse. The smugness he wore before my deployment was gone, replaced by a mask of anxiety he couldn't hide. I approached the headquarters, a reinforced building that seemed to hum with power. Inside, officers were reviewing documents, thick folders detailing the fraudulent sales, misappropriations, and blatant neglect of regulations. My heart thudded as I realized just how deep the corruption ran. "We've traced every transaction," said Lieutenant Ramos, motioning to a stack of files. "They tried to sell your home and several others without proper authority. Legally, you're entitled to full restitution." I followed the officers back to my house. Every room bore memories, scuffed floors from childhood, my mother's old piano, the garden I'd spent weekends tending. Now, armed with military backing, I could reclaim it. The sense of justice wasn't just personal. It was a statement. No one could exploit service members while they were defending their country, not without consequences. Weeks passed. Legal battles unfolded swiftly, a stark contrast to the HOA's previous stalling tactics. Calls came from neighbors who had once ignored the signs, now seeking guidance and protection. The community, once fragmented by greed, began to heal under the watchful eyes of authorities who valued fairness over profit. Finally, the day came when I held the official paperwork confirming my ownership. The settlement included financial restitution and public acknowledgement of the HOA's misconduct. The media covered it, The story of the subdivision's military reclamation spreading like wildfire. People called it unprecedented. I called it justice long overdue. Standing on my porch at sunset, I felt an overwhelming sense of closure. The betrayal that had cut so deep while I was deployed was now just a chapter of the past. The military's intervention had turned a personal loss into a community-wide correction, ensuring that greed and corruption would no longer dictate our lives. I finally understood. Service isn't only about sacrifice abroad, it's about resilience, standing firm, and reclaiming what's rightfully yours, even when the odds seem insurmountable. As the evening light settled over my restored home, I smiled, knowing I had fought for something greater than just a house. I had fought for justice. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe for more unbelievable real-life experiences. Don't forget to like the video and comment below with your thoughts. Have you ever faced a situation like this? I'd love to hear your story.